is Szubart. I'm a Senior Vice President here at Hult International Business School, and I want to warmly welcome all of you that are joining us from around the world today. So, what do we have in store for you today? You're going to hear a little bit about all aspects of our program, and the intention is really to be interactive as well, as much as possible. So, you're going to see a Q&A box at the bottom of your screen. Feel free to use that to enter in any questions that you may have throughout the presentations. We'll either type some answers or we'll save them for the end when we have a Q&A session with our staff, as well as some of our current students who are joining us here today. You're also going to hear from our Dean of Students here in Boston, one of our career advisors, and you're also going to hear about student services so you can get an idea of extracurricular life here in Boston. So again, I want to take a moment to just thank all of you for joining us here today on Saturday. Thank all of our staff as well as our students for joining us here. And I hope this gives you the opportunity to learn a little bit more about what life is like here at Hult. Hopefully you also get to see what life is like right now as we navigate both virtual learning as well as in-person learning here today. So I'm being brought to you live from the Boston campus, courtesy of our Limitless Learning technology. So without further ado, what I'd like to do is introduce you to our Dean of Students, Monica Farcas.
Thank you, Jess. Hello, everyone, and greetings from Boston. My name is Monica Farcas, and I am the undergraduate dean for our Boston campus. I'm originally from Romania, and I have been with Hult for almost 8 years now. I started as a student, so I can feel what questions you have and what excited you have and excited you are about taking this journey and finding out about the journeys that you could take at Hult. And I can answer those questions from both a student perspective and the academic perspective as well later on in the session. I have almost 20 years of work experience in higher education. I hold a PhD in economics and an MBA from Hult. So most of my life, I have been a student. I like talking to students about testing anxiety, taking exams, and what it means to be a student and to manage the time in a wise way, because I have done it for so many years myself. So now I don't want to spend too much to talk about myself. As the Dean of the Boston campus, I just want to give you a brief introduction of our Bachelor of Business Administration program. So let's start, and please advance to the next slide. Let's start and see what type of education we deliver to our students. As a business school, we strive to be the most relevant business school in the world. And the education that we provide to students has been recognized and accredited by the most 3 prestigious accreditation bodies that exist in the world. So we are very, very excited and proud to have this triple crown status, because our students, not only that they have their diplomas and education recognized worldwide, but they also have their degrees recognized both in UK and the United States. And this makes our degree relevant globally. Please advance to the next slide. Thank you. So let's look at the first 3 main pillars that make our program unique. And as you think about your college experience, I want to provoke you and to challenge you to have your imagination active. Because a college degree doesn't necessarily mean that you have to do it just for getting a degree. It can be an adventure at the same time. So in the next couple of minutes, I want to invite you to imagine and just use your imagination to see the college experience with Hult as the biggest adventure that you could have and a life-changing experience. This is what it was for me. I came from Romania in 2012 to study and do my MBA at Hult, and I discovered a completely different world. So the world that I knew up to that point, growing and being educating in Europe and having access to many European countries, just completely changed. Because what I can tell you that the students who are coming to Hult and they are in the room and you will be able to ask them about it, and you will experience yourselves when you come to classes in the fall, you discover that the world has different meaning and different aspects to look for. So the first and one main pillar in our program is that you'll be learning about the world. Please advance. And the world, you can learn about it in different ways. You'll be learning about it through our curriculum, and in each class, you'll be discussing global business situations. You'll be interacting with business challenges that are happening in Middle East, in Africa, in Asia, in South America, and you'll be challenged to solve those problems. But just think about it, right? As you read a book about one certain country, you will read and find information about that country through the lenses of the author. And if you have follow-up questions, you will either have to do the research yourself or just have the questions unanswered. In Hult classes, this is not happening, because if you are studying a business challenge and a business case about a certain culture, most probably you will have a colleague in the classroom that you can turn towards and ask a follow-up question that is not written in the case, and it is not disclosed by the author. And this enriches the experience and gives you the opportunity to learn more about the world, as I said. So let's look at some statistics. Please advance to the next slide, about what is our class and our student population looking like, and what we are talking about here. We have on campus more than 137 nationalities. This is huge because, as I said, every single nationality brings something to the discussion. Myself, when I was a student working on a team project, not only that I learned about what is happening in India from the business perspective, but I also learned to cook Indian dish. So we were working on a project, and guess what? Teamwork ended up in having a meal together and learning about a different recipe. I learned to cook paella in the same way, and so on. So the word is brought to you in the classroom. You'll be able to learn new languages because we have more than 107 languages spoken, and our faculty is very diverse as well. No single nationality at Hult represents more than 8.5%. And let's go to the next slide to see what you can do besides having the word brought to you in the classroom. You can explore the world through your education program and go to different cities. You can do the fall and spring terms either in London or Boston as the main campuses, but you can also choose, as the summer terms are purely optional, you could also choose to take classes in the summer, not only to advance your degree, but also to explore different business environments and to learn about doing business in those areas of the world. And you could decide over the summer to go to San Francisco, or to go to Dubai, or to go to Shanghai. And these are opportunities that students find very, very useful for their educational, professional, and personal development. They are not mandatory. The process is very easy to follow. It's just like taking a trip over the summer in a different part of the world with your best friends at Hult. If we look at the next slide, I want to take you to the next pillar that makes Hult's education so unique. Think about the adventure. I told you that students are learning about the world, and the world is brought to them and they can be part of the world. But we also invite the students throughout this journey to look into the future. And something that we are very, very passionate about is to have students understand what are the trends and the technologies that will impact the business world in the future. So we offer a broad range of nano courses where the students learn about these innovative industries. Of course, if we go to the next slide, please, to see the list of courses that we are offering, you will not learn how to build robots or how to program a blockchain software. What you learn is how these technologies are disrupting the business world and how to proactively adjust your business model to cope with this disruption. So at the end, you will feel that you have a good understanding of what is going to happen in the next 5-10 years from the disruption perspective, and this provides you with a future-proof degree. The third aspect that we will be looking at on the next slide, it's again another part of the adventure. So we went and looked at the world. We are looking at the future, but sometimes we have to stay still, even if we work very, very hard, stay still and learn about ourselves. So students are learning about the biggest leadership tool that they could learn, which is themselves and what is their potential. If we go to the next slide, you'll see that it's listed that the most, on the previous slide, but it's okay to stay with this one as well. The number one predictor of success, it is your own self-awareness. So we want you to discover yourself. It will be a journey and an adventure that will take you through a defined set of settings. And the program is structured in such a way to take you to discover what are your strengths and your weaknesses. How can you best use them and embrace a growth mindset mentality to help you be successful in any work environment? So what is the red threads that unifies all of this, right? You have the world, you have the future, you are learning about your leadership potential. If we look at the next slide, you will see that there is something that connects all of these dots. As I mentioned, the executive success comes from understanding your self-awareness. If we go to the next slide, please. The slides are slightly reversed on my end. Sorry about that. It's the experiential learning. So think about it. You are in a class, understanding, and I'm sure that you had different experiences in your high school. You might be thinking of transferring from a different school. You have some experience in another college, probably. What do we stand by? What is our unique element that makes you take most advantage of the three pillars that I just mentioned before? It's our experiential learning approach. And this means that in every class, you will be challenged to apply the knowledge that you get to real business situations. And this will happen in different ways. So let's look at the next slide that gives you an idea of what this challenge could look like. So the first year students will be asked to work on a startup idea, do the research, come up with a business idea, do the research, interview clients, talk to customers, build a go-to-market strategy, of course, in a basic way, because it's just the first year course that they have to take, and pitch their final idea to a group of panelists. So this will give them the opportunity to practice what they learn in the course called Storytelling and Persuasion. And they will work on launching a business idea. And at the same time, they have opportunity to join the Hult Founders Lab to discuss more and explore more about what launching a business means in real life. As they go into their second year of studies, in a course called Design Thinking for Social Impact, the students will be asked to solve a social challenge that impacts millions of people. And this is very rewarding to know that the work that you do can have such an impact. Not last, either final, third and fourth years, the students will be focusing on specialization challenges. And depending on their major, they can work on a change management, simulations that will place them in a position to work with an organization on how the change impacts the entire organizational structure, or they could play the role of trading stocks in a trading simulation, or work on different other challenges for clients. All of this gives students hands-on experience that they can later on relate to and use the first day when they do and go to the job. And they can use in interview settings and everything that they would need after. This entire challenge learning system is delivered through, to you through our curriculum. So let's see what our curriculum looks like on the next slide. Because our curriculum goes beyond business. And not only that you are learning the most important business concepts that you need to know to be a successful business professional, but you'll also be given with the opportunity to learn about arts, to learn about science, technology, philosophy, psychology, and so on. So if we look at the next slide, you'll notice that we have 5 major areas of specialization: business analytics, entrepreneurship, finance, management, and marketing. And you can choose to either specialize in one of these areas or not to specialize at all. And this will provide you with a business degree in general business specialization. In addition to having a major area of specialization, you could also have a minor specialization in computer science, design, psychology, or any of the areas that are areas of specialization for the major. So let me show you how this would work. So let's say that in your third year, end of the second year, the third year of college, you decide to specialize in business analytics. You could add a minor specialization in one of the 3 areas that you have on the screens on the right-hand side, or you could decide to add a minor specialization in management, entrepreneurship major, marketing minor, and so on. All of this will be given to you, and you will be advised on by your program manager, and we will work closely with you to understand what is your professional dream looking like and your dream career looking like, so that we can advise you on what specialization to take, and your career advisor will advise you on how to get there. So going to the next slide, I want to share with you that the average duration that the students are completing a degree at Hult is 2.9 years. So depending on your high school system that you graduated from, or if you are transferring credits, you can transfer up to 60 credits from another institution, you can graduate anywhere between 2 and 4 years. And we will sit together, we will work through what that journey looks like and what you need to do. If you need to take summer courses, if you don't need to take summer courses, to make sure that you graduate by the deadline and in the timeline that you would like to. Moving to the next slide, as just mentioned in the beginning, at Hult we believe that education should never stop no matter what. So we are all living the challenges day with this pandemic and with the COVID situation that is happening in the world. But I am happy to report that we never stop education at Hult, not even for one day. So when the pandemic hit back in Boston's case, back in March, we switched quickly to online classes, and the students were able to complete their term on time and not miss any single day of classes. But not only that they completed on time, over the summer, we worked intensively to make sure that when they return in the fall, they will have an enhanced experience in the classroom if they are not able to make it back. So moving to the next slide, you will see that we installed, and you have witnessed in the beginning, and you'll see a little bit more when our students will join us, the technology that I am talking about here. We have cameras that are tracking the speaker depending on where the speaker sits, and the speaker can walk. It doesn't have to be a fixed seating. We have cameras that are tracking the students when they participate in class discussions. And the microphones are, of course, very, very well designed so that the sound is a very good sound. So even if you are not joining us in the classroom and you are studying from a home currently, for the students who are not able to make it back to campus, they still have the same experience that the students in the classroom have. They can interact with the professor, they can ask questions, that they can talk to the students in the class, and so on. So moving to the next slide, you will see that not only that we tried to enhance the experience and make sure that the students who cannot make it to campus for this academic year due to the pandemic can continue their education, but we also believe that the education needs to be accessible to everyone. So what we did is, starting in the fall 2021, we are launching this limited learning program where students can start from home, study the beginning of the program from their home countries, and come to campus for the final to complete the final 60 credits of the program. So this gives students the opportunity to save money on accommodation, tuition, and living expenses. And at the same time have exactly the same experience as the students in the class, because they will follow the same curriculum and they will be joining the same classes. Coming to campus for the final 60 credits gives them the opportunity to get work authorization to stay and work in the United States or UK after they graduate from the degree. And this is a huge advantage if you want to get some work experience abroad. So in a nutshell, this is what we are doing here, and this is the adventures that we are inviting you, and we are very excited to have you join us in the next academic year. But now I want to invite my colleague from the Career Services, Kyle Berry, who is our Career Development Advisor, to talk to you a little bit about how Hult approaches the Career Services.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Dean Monica. And to everyone on the call, good morning, good evening, good afternoon. I see that people are attending from a variety of different places, so welcome. As Dean Monica so kindly mentioned, my name is Kyle Berry, and I am part of Hult's Career Development and Corporate Relations team. And today I'm just going to share a little bit about how we support students. So before I dive into more about me and how we do that, I would love the opportunity to hear from you all. So if we could take the next minute, and if you could just share in the chat, what kinds of jobs are you interested in? And there are a few different examples that you can see down below. If there are jobs that you're interested in that are not listed there, there are obviously plenty more. I always just find it very intriguing to see what direction people are going, and also how many people have an idea of what they'd like to do and how many are still figuring it out. Both of which are completely fine, as everybody starts in different places. So, all right, so just kind of looking through the chat, we've got some tech, some people trying to figure things out, stock market, what else? Marketing, maybe not marketing, IT management, nice, definitely marketing. Lots of marketers on this call, I love it. That was my background actually. Potentially some entrepreneurship, love that too. We have a number of entrepreneurs who come to school here. Management, finance, all. This is fantastic. So thank you all. Please keep those coming. And that will kind of help me as I talk through some different examples too. So as we transition to the next slide, one of the things that I would like to share about you about me is how I fit into the picture. So as mentioned, I am one of the career development advisors here at Hult. We have career development advisors on every campus globally. So you always have access to us. For me, I currently support our undergraduate students. This is my second academic year at Hult. And actually before this, I spent 9 years working in global marketing teams, which I absolutely loved. But I hit a point in my career where I decided to do a little bit of a pivot. And after reflecting on the parts of my jobs that I loved the most, it was actually working with and hiring our undergraduate marketing interns. I did that. I managed that process for various teams about 4 or 5 years. And I loved it. I loved helping students professionally grow. I loved helping them think of strategies and ways that they could kind of move forward and get to where they want to go. And that's what I get to do every day when I work with our students right now. So my main focus is on student success. So if we move to the next slide, I can show you what are some numbers behind that student success. So these slides speak for themselves. I'll let you all quickly look at the numbers. So these are the most recent numbers that we have right now. We're currently working on getting the 2021, so we will share those as soon as we have them. But as you can see, these are some pretty impressive numbers, because a degree at Hult, as you might find out, can take you to many different places and on many different career paths, okay? So very impressively, 99% of the students who graduate from Hult are either employed or deciding to pursue an advanced degree, think master's types of degrees once they graduate. Of all of the students, a little over half are working in a country that is different than their country of origin. So if one of our students started in Costa Rica and then decided to work in the US, that happened. We have a lot of students who move around to different countries to do work. And then the types of employment is also a little diverse. So about 3/4 of students work towards full-time employment. About 14% are in that post-graduation internship. Internships are incredibly valuable and one of the main tactics, main directions that we like to coach our students to move forward with for a variety of reasons. We also have a lot of students who come from family businesses who are looking to gain experience in the United States or likewise in the UK, and then be able to take that experience back. And that's really important. And last but not least, we have around that 4% with these numbers that are starting their own business, those entrepreneurs. And I love working with those students as well. So we know at Hult that we don't look at our students as numbers. So let's take a look at the next slide where I can share one very quick success story with you. I'm going to tell you a little bit about Natalia. Happy to introduce you to her here. So Natalia is actually one of our current undergraduate students who is set to graduate this coming May. From the very beginning of her time at Hult in the program, she was always very proactive about meeting with the career development team, as well as trying to think through what direction might she want to go. She's very involved with the Hult community and just really pushed herself to get out there, which is so important. As career advisors, we're always trying to encourage the students that we work with to start early, because starting early allows us to partner with you a lot more effectively. So that way we can help understand where are you at in your career journey? Where are you in the process? Where might you like to go? For those of you who had answered, you have no idea where you want to go, know that you are not alone. We have different exercises and such that we can kind of walk you through to help you gain clarity on that. And then ultimately, what is it that you're looking to achieve, right? So by starting early, we can help you identify that and then put you on track to be able to get where you want to go. And so Natalia did just that. So by partnering with the career advisors that she had access to, she was able to prepare some really strong career marketing documents like a resume, LinkedIn profile, and also learn about some of the different job search strategies on how to seek work, especially within the United States. And she was able to achieve her goal. She was really interested in corporate communications and business operations, and she actually landed an internship where she could do just that. So all of her hard work paid off. And likewise, Boston has so many opportunities that are available to students to find internships and find that full-time work. So as we transition to the next slide, I'm really excited to highlight one of the more popular industries where students tend to find success, and that is the tech industry. And in particular with this, I'm sharing the startup tech industry. So this is one of the areas, as I mentioned, where many of our students tend to find success at getting employed. Boston is a major tech hub in the US. I know oftentimes people think of San Francisco whenever you think tech hub, and it is true. San Francisco is absolutely a fantastic tech hub. Boston is right there with it too. So know that the opportunities definitely exist. As you can see from the numbers at the top of this slide, it has around 2,500 tech companies and startups within the city. And of those, there's around 190,000 individuals who are part of this community. So it's a significantly sized community. And one of the things that I really like is it's super important to understand that the breadth of companies that Hult students find jobs that they're excited about. So some tech companies are really well known, or any company really is very well known, and students are able to secure a job at well-known companies. As you are starting to develop your experience and begin your career journey, you're often going to find more opportunities at startups. And that's going to give you the chance to really grow that experience and become a stronger job candidate moving forward. So there are a few advantages to moving towards working at a tech startup. A couple of those, and this is a quick little coaching moment just to share that. But a couple of those you can see listed off to the left. So unique environments, tech startups in particular, any type of startup for that matter, you're going to find people who are typically very flexible, very collaborative, very friendly. Most of the time the kitchens are stocked with snacks, whether those be healthy snacks or junk food, whatever you want, you have access to. And typically there's going to be some different games and things involved as well. So it's a pretty interesting and fun type of setup. In addition to that, as I previously mentioned, it's going to contribute towards that career kickstart. So if you are just starting to build up experience, which is great, we all start there, right? As you start to build that up, startups tend to be more open to giving people opportunities to develop that experience. So it's a great way to get your foot in the door. And because startups tend to be a bit smaller, you're going to have more diverse responsibilities. So let's say you're hired in the marketing department. Yes, you will absolutely be doing marketing related responsibilities, but it's also very likely that you're going to have the opportunity to help out a variety of other teams. So maybe you help the finance team with some different tasks or the operation team with some projects. And that helps you better understand, out of the options that exist in the market, does it confirm that that's the direction that you'd still like to go? Or maybe did you find something else that interests you? And either way, you're going to be able to talk about that experience in the future in future interviews, which will make you a stronger job candidate. And last but not least, making a diverse impact. A lot of students that we have the chance to work with talk about how important the ability to have impact is for them. And in startups, most of the time, the structure is pretty linear. So you don't have as much bureaucracy to go around, which opens the door that if you have a really cool idea and you share that with your manager, it's very likely that that could be something that you work towards implementing, which isn't something that you always get the chance to do. So that's the tech at a glance within Boston, in particular within the startup community. Do you have to work in tech if you come here? Obviously, absolutely not. We encourage you to figure out what you want to do, and then we'll help you get there. If you would want more information on that, I left the URL at the very bottom. It's a website called Built in Boston. You can do some more research on your own. So if we go to the next slide, let's talk about some of the ways that we support our students. So one of those is by creating a structure. There is nothing worse than sitting there and just wasting your energy and kind of spinning your wheels, trying to figure out what should I be doing? What are the topics that I need to be aware of? So because of that, we have created a global experience that we call the Pathway Experience, which is available to students on every Hult campus. And basically what it comprises is it has a series of milestones that are made up of themes, skills, events, and tools. So if we go to the next slide, let's take a look at what that actually means. But the basic premise behind this, as we take a look at maybe first year and second year, and this also exists for third and fourth, it's a flexible program. So for those who finish in 2 years, we can kind of combine this. So just know that these milestones that you'll see, for example, reflection and self-awareness or developing market awareness, those milestones are key, and those are typical steps within a career journey to help you understand, first and foremost, reflection. What are some strengths that I have to offer the marketplace? And what are some strengths that you yourself enjoy using? That's the important part, because if you can identify those and then you can pair that with your market awareness, right? What opportunities exist in the market that might align with the strengths that I have and the strengths that I enjoy using? That is going to contribute towards you ultimately reaching that goal that you have. So these are a few of those milestones. As we move to the next slide, one thing that's really important to note is that we don't just provide a structure and say, good luck, go for it. No, we're here for you every single step of the way. Structure is great, but that is not the only way that we provide support. And so as you can see here, you have access to advisors. So one-on-one advising, you can talk to people like myself. There is also a career advisor named Tom Lynch, who's absolutely fantastic. We both pride ourselves on really being student-centric and making sure that we help our students to get unstuck whenever they are and help them figure out what's next. How do we move forward? How do we think about this? Another way that we do that is providing skills workshops. So we will offer different trainings on topics like how to craft a strong resume, how to optimize your LinkedIn profile, what are some of the different strategies that students can use in order to get a job. Online job boards are probably the one that everybody's aware of, but interestingly tends to be the least effective tactic. So we will talk you through some different ways that you can think about that. We provide you with career tools. So within tuition, we have provided access to certain things like a resume artificial intelligence platform. So as you work on building out your bullet points, you can get some quick feedback on on how else might I consider writing that? What might make the most sense? And how does that compare to maybe other individuals who are working in finance if your resume is geared towards finance? And last but not least, we also have part of our team which is focused on corporate connections, right? So we have individuals who are dedicated to creating relationships with employers out in the field, letting them know about Hult students, about the incredible talent that our students have to offer, and then bringing those opportunities back to the students. So they provide different events as well as job opportunities that we will post on our internal job board for students to have access to. So that is careers and corporate relations at a high glance. I hope it's helped paint a little bit of a picture of the support that you can expect to receive and the ways to kind of think about at least starting your career journey. With that in mind, I am very excited to pass this over to my colleague Morgan to talk more about how we support our students.
All right, thank you very much. Hi, I'm Morgan. I'm in the third year here at Hult, and I work in student services and events. So if we want to go to the next slide, we'll see a little bit more about what that involves. So student services really oversees the student journey outside the classroom. So we're there for orientation, we're there for graduation, and everything in between. Sort of a few of those things are clubs and organizations, the Hult Student Association, which is the student government, cultural celebration planning, networking groups, peer support groups, and so much more. So I'm going to talk to you about a few of those things and a few of those opportunities we have on campus. If we want to go to the next slide, I'll start off going over clubs. So we have three different sort of buckets that our clubs fall into. First is professional clubs. So you can see here we have our business and current affairs think tank, our Women Plus in business. There's a marketing club, a networking club. There's all sorts of opportunities for all of those of you who were not sure about what you wanted to study or what you wanted to do after you graduated. Getting involved in clubs like these are a really great way to sort of test out the waters, look into some of the options there are, and also network a little bit with some of our postgrad students here on campus. So professional clubs are a really great way to expand your network and to explore some different possibilities. But Hult isn't just about that. There's also some life outside of business. If you want to go to the next slide, we have our sports clubs. This right here is our outdoors club. This is a photo from last year. You can tell because they're not wearing masks. But we also have our basketball club. We have a golf club. If you could look out the window directly to my right, you would actually see our soccer club is putting on a tournament today. So there's a lot of other great ways to get involved. And then in addition to that, the next slide, we have our social clubs. So these include In Focus, which is our photography and videography club, Hult in Action, you can see right there at one of their activities where they were helping out at a food bank. And then there's, you know, a lot of other things. There's the African Business Club, there's the, I'm trying to remember what other ones. We have a podcasting club. It sort of is this bucket where there's a lot of other opportunities to get involved socially, as well as some interests outside of the classroom, outside of sports, and outside of business. In addition to that, if you want to go to the next slide, we have our Hult Student Association. So the Hult Student Association is our student government. They run elections every year, so they're elected to represent the student body. And they also are responsible for running events on campus. If you have an idea for something that you want to do that doesn't quite fit into a club, either running for Hult Student Association or approaching your student government leader, your Hult Student Association rep, is a great way to make that happen on campus. Currently, they are in the process of planning a welcome back event for all of our undergrads next Friday. So they're doing like an open mic night, they're doing another soccer tournament, but really it's a great way to build that community and get to know the people in your cohort and in your classes. And if we go next, one other thing that I want to highlight that Student Services does is our Go Global events. So as we could see from the very beginning, Hult is a really global community and we want to celebrate that. Over the past semester, we've done a couple of different events. We had Diwali, we had Dia de los Muertos, we built an ofrenda downstairs in the atrium. We had a Halloween celebration, so it's sort of a mixture of, celebrating these local events and then also bringing your culture here to campus. Currently, we're recruiting students to help us plan our Lunar New Year as well as our Carnival celebration. So if you keep an eye on our Instagram at Hult Boston, hopefully you'll be seeing some photos coming out of those events coming up. There's a lot of different ways to get involved on campus. These are just a few of them, but if you ever have questions about that, you can always come to me or anyone on my team, and we're happy to point you in the right direction or help you getting started in putting together a group, a peer support club, anything like that. And with that, I'm going to pass it back to Jess, and she will talk to you a little bit more about the process of applying to Hult.
Thanks so much, Morgan. And thank you everyone for presenting so far. So I know we have a wide range of students that are joining us here today. Some of you have already applied to Hult, in which case, congratulations, it's very exciting. Some of you have even been accepted. Others are still considering whether or not Hult is where they'd like to go to school, and you're learning more today. So what I want to speak to now, just for the next few minutes, is what that process looks like. If we can go to the next slide. So the first step is obviously completing the online application. You might do this directly through our own online application. You may decide to do this through the Common App or through UCAS. All three channels are fully acceptable as a means of applying to Hult. From there, what we're going to do is we're going to work with an enrollment team. So quite a few of you have already been asking questions that I've been answering through the Q&A box throughout these presentations. And I've mentioned in a couple of them to connect with your enrollment advisor. So once you apply to the program, you're going to have both an application manager as well as an enrollment advisor who are going to work with you throughout that admissions process, just to make sure that everything's in order before we pass it along to the admissions committee. You're also going to have something called a personal assessment interview. We take a holistic approach to our admissions. So what's going to happen is we're not only going to look at what you look like on black and white, so your extracurriculars, your GPA, what you've done in school and out of school, but we're also going to have an interview with you just to understand your fit here at Hult and give you the opportunity to ask questions about what Hult can offer you as well. Once those elements are completed, you're going to receive an admissions decision. We do this on a rolling basis, so we do hope and try to kind of aim to turn that around within 2 weeks, just so you have that admissions decision in hand and can hopefully make a decision as soon as possible. Of course, we also want to make sure that you attend our Accepted Students Weekend. This year, those are probably going to look a little different yet again. So last year, we hosted our first virtual Accepted Students Weekend. And just based on our pesky friend COVID, we're probably still going to see those as a virtual event. But we strive to really make that interactive, bring everyone together. And it's a really cool opportunity to not only meet current students that are on campus now, but also connect with prospective students, the students that are going to be joining us here in the fall. You never know, you might meet your future roommate, you might meet your future business partner at one of these events. And then finally, the next two steps sound really easy, but then of course it's just about making that decision. Is Hult the right place for you? Do you want to go to Boston? Do you want to go to London? Making that decision, confirming your place, and then of course we work with you to make sure that you're ready to come to campus in the fall. And we're very excited, just based on the current trajectory of things. We fully anticipate campus to be open in the fall, so that you guys get to experience intake, I think, the way you've always imagined you'd experience your first freshman intake. Go to the next slide. So we've gotten quite a few questions about tuitions and program fees. So what I want to do is just take a few minutes to talk about what those costs are, as well as some of the scholarships and awards that we offer that are both merit-based and need-based. So the tuition for the US campus here in Boston is $49,100. For London, that's in pounds, so that's going to be $32,500. We recognize that students, may require some financial assistance, and we do want to make Hult as accessible as possible for you and your family. So you can apply for a range of scholarships, which are merit-based, or awards, which are need-based. Now, the reason that I delineate between those two is because anyone can apply for a scholarship. So depending on if you see these and you say like, oh, okay, I'd like to apply for the Global Generation Scholarship or the Growth Mindset Scholarship, that's completely fine, and you can do that and apply. It's $5,000. Same thing with academic excellence. If you have a 3.6 or higher GPA, you automatically earn a $10,000 scholarship to Hult. Now, if you require additional financial assistance, you would apply for an award. You would also need to prove need, and you can do this through a number of ways. One is if you are based here in the US, so if you're American or a permanent resident, you would be applying through FAFSA, which you already know. Many of our international students that have joined have asked about the CSS profile. We actually don't use the CSS, only because CSS is fee-based and we don't want to put any additional burden to apply for financial assistance. So we have our own version that we offer to students. If you connect with your enrollment advisor, they'll be able to make that form available to you through your online application, so you'd be able to apply for need-based financial assistance above the scholarships. You can go to the next slide. Great. And that kind of wraps it up. So there may be additional questions, and I know we still have quite a few Q&As coming through. What I want to do before we bring our staff back online as well is quickly introduce you to our current students who've been patiently awaiting their turn to say hello to you all, as well as talk to you about life here on campus as a student. So why don't we kick it off with some introductions, and maybe Jess, we'll start with you.
Awesome. Hi, guys. I'm Jessie Lozano. I'm half German, half Spanish. Right now, I'm a senior at Hult undergrad and looking forward to doing my master's in business analytics. Yeah, super excited to be here and happy to answer any questions.
Hi, guys. My name is Daigo Kobayashi. I'm Japanese, but I was born in Mexico. And I'm currently a freshman in my second semester. And yeah, like Jessie said, any questions are welcome, and we're glad to be here.
Hi, I'm Victoria Perez. I'm from the Dominican Republic. I'm a freshman student as well in my second semester, and I'm really glad to be here in campus. I did my first semester online, so yeah, happy to answer any questions as well.
Great. When did you arrive?
I actually arrived December 27th.
Wow. Okay, great.
Awesome. Hello, everyone. My name is Ahmed and I'm Moroccan. I'm VP of the Hult Debate Society. I'm also part of the Hult Founders Lab and as a global ambassador. So if anyone has questions about clubs or initiatives, I'm more than happy to answer them.
And maybe, because I noticed in the chat that we have a few budding entrepreneurs. So maybe can you explain quickly what Hult Founders Lab is for the folks that don't know it already?
Yes, Daigo and I are actually part of this initiative too, and Jess, so that's amazing. So anything related to the Hult Founders Lab, we'd be more than happy to answer it. So to summarize, this is like the Hult Founders Lab is a sort of like an initiative that helps students start up, like have the opportunities and have the tools to, create a startup. And like schools or, for example, teachers have the possibility to help them out on a one-on-one basis. And I feel like Daigo actually had an initiative in it, and he had a startup that he wants to start with a bunch of his friends. And I feel like he would definitely talk about it more and give a more insider information about how that usually works.
So basically, like Ahmed said, the Hult Founders Lab is just sort of an accelerator and also an incubator for students here on campus. And it's also a great opportunity because the professors in charge will bring in experts in different fields. So whether that be a lawyer relating to intellectual property, or some entrepreneur that has already had success with some idea. So basically, it helped us to ground our idea because it would be really critical. Sometimes that's hard for us because we stay in like the dreamer and like trying to get the idea off the ground, but it really helps to make your idea really concrete so you can go to investors and start actually creating prototypes and stuff like that. I don't know if Jessie wants to add something.
Yeah, I think I'm just gonna piggyback off of that. I think the best thing was that we would always get really critical feedback that was important, that we're not always given, especially also having a community with like-minded students like us. So we're not just students, but we're also entrepreneurs. So that's been really exciting.
That's great. We do have a very specific question when it comes to extracurriculars, and I'm going to defer to you guys because I think you're going to know best. Do you know the volleyball club that's already been started for, well, specifically for men, it looks like, but just in general?
I don't think so.
Yeah, we actually don't have one, but a bunch of my friends actually want to start one. And it's amazing that people actually are interested in it because I feel like a lot of the online students that will be coming, hopefully this week or next week, will be starting one. And they're looking for areas to start playing. So it hasn't started, but it will be here hopefully very soon.
That's great. And I think it's a good reminder that even if you do come with a passion and you're excited about something and it's not here, we certainly encourage, and I think you're going to find like-minded people that want to do that. And Boston is such a student-centric city. I think it's hard for people to kind of understand just how many students are here in Boston. That even if it's not here specifically, you're going to find, you know, student clubs or somewhere else that you might actually be able to join. And it's just a cool opportunity to also network with other students in different universities. So I'm surprised we haven't gotten this question before, but it's certainly very relevant and topical. I'm sure it's a top of mind for a lot of people. Has COVID taken away anything from the true sort of student experience for you all?
I think the only one that can answer this is Jessica. Only had COVID
It's the
time.
only reality you've known.
So,
Ooh, well, okay. Let me think. So this is my third and last year. And so I've done in-person normal without COVID. Then I did limitless learning from home. And then I did so in person while we're here with COVID specifically. And one of the things, like obviously being online was really different for me, but then coming back to in person after COVID, I didn't realize how quote unquote like normal it would feel. I thought they would be really, really different, but being able to see my professors and friends, and even if we're socially distanced, you still have that core aspect of Hult. So I really think that like if you can try and make it in person, I really recommend that. But biggest takeaways, I don't really think there are any huge differences per se, apart from big social gatherings not happening.
Sure, yeah. Which is a pretty big difference.
I feel like a lot of students have adapted to this. And for example, let's take the debate club, for example. Debate is all about sitting with another person and debating with a person face to face and going to universities. And, you know, there's a lot of one-on-one basis, and it's really about seeing people and talking specifically to people. But what we did in our club is that we adapted to these situations. For example, we started a cross-training program with a bunch of universities worldwide. Yes, of course, the COVID situation is unfortunate, but I feel like a lot of students are adapting. They're creating other solutions to this. And of course, like it was hard at first, but now we're realizing that we're taking the positive things and we're doing things that were once not possible. Debating against like universities and from Colombia, Ecuador, that's a huge possibility, and that's a huge thing that we get to learn from more. So I feel like adaptability is really important, and that has definitely helped us and shaped us to the people we are today. So I feel like there isn't a huge takeaway, like a huge setback to being online.
Well, and hopefully these restrictions will only continue to open up from here. I think we're sort of in that darkest moment before the dawn where, you know, we're in the surge and the vaccine's still being rolled out. So for all of you who are applying right now, I think keep in mind the reality that we're living in right now is going to look so different come September, when hopefully you're all here joining us in Boston. Speaking of kind of normal college life, one of the questions that's up next from Estefane is kind of understanding, like, what does a typical week look like? I think it's one of the hardest things for someone to kind of think about, like, what does my class schedule look like? How much am I in class versus, you know, working? So maybe could, you know, a couple of you just chime in about what your class schedules look like?
I mean, it also depends on what kind of person you are. I feel like all of us here are just want to do everything all the time. So at least for me, I'm like usually just at school like till 7 and just working with my friends on startups or whether that be projects. Then I just go back and I want to sleep, but obviously I like find time to hang out with my friends. One thing I do recommend though is for if you guys come, I think here in Boston it's mandatory to stay at Hult House, but you guys shouldn't like pick the waiver if you're from the US to live off campus, because it's an amazing experience and you'll get to know basically everyone. But a typical day is just waking up, eating breakfast if you can, going to class, hanging out with a lot of people, learning about yourself, and just going back and sleeping it off.
I guess, yeah, my life is very similar to Daigo. The only thing I can add is cooking. Yeah, that kind of takes a lot of your time, and it's enjoyable. And the amazing thing, as Dean Monica has said, is that during my short time over here, I've already learned a lot of like international dishes. And for example, in the kitchen, where you're only allowed to have 2 people. And so that person would somehow like show me what he does. And he would show me, well, for example, the recipes he's working on or things he's cooking. So I feel like that has been a great experience too. So I definitely would go.
Fantastic.
Can I just add really quickly?
Yeah,
You guys missed the gym. We have a really, to stay healthy. We have a really cool gym, and I think that that's a huge part as well. And then for non-COVID times, we're also not exactly sure how it's playing out now, but we would go to like a lot of conferences at different schools around. So like on the weekends, that's what I would spend a big chunk of my time doing, and I think that that's really valuable. And it's still happening online. So yeah.
Well, I think it boils down to, and this is the kind of the thing is that, and I think it feeds well into this next question, is the idea of the school isn't going to tell you how to spend your time. A lot of this is very much going to be self-driven, and you're going to decide how to do that. So any of these experiences, you're going to find out you can either make the most of it and be busy from night until, till you go to bed, or you can kind of give yourself some more free time if that's what you would choose to do. So the next question is a question actually about, I think it's an interesting way to phrase it, was, does Hult facilitate internships or programs abroad? Now, I know as first-year students, you're not quite in that zone yet, but Jesse, you have kind of seen an internship, and I think let's talk a little bit about what that journey was of finding it, as well as kind of what it was.
Of course, yeah. So Hult requires or recommends to do 1 internship. I've done 3, and it's been really, really cool. The first one was actually establishing the Hult Founders Lab through the help of one of our professors. So he was like, I have this idea that we want to bring the London Hult Founders Lab here to Boston. Can you go do market research? So my first internship was internally at the school, which led me to my second internship at a nonprofit through one of the persons that I interviewed. And then the third internship was at a public tech company where I got the contacts through one of the master students, who's one of my best friends who I was in a club with. So it's all some way related to Hult, but you make those connections yourself. And like Jess said, it's all really what you drive and what you seek out to do. So if you want to do 3 internships, you totally can. If you don't want to, you're not forced to, but it's very like, yeah, you need to put yourself out there. But happy, like if anyone's interested in internship questions, I always am happy to help.
But I think it's also, I mean, to your point, internships aren't just something that Hult's going to hand you a menu of internships and you're going to choose one. It is about making that effort of networking and working with your career advisor and really determining what kind of makes the most sense for you.
Yeah, I just want to add, and I definitely don't want to give the image that it's super duper easy, because you are coming to Boston, one of the most competitive cities. So that's going to make you up your game to all the schools that are around us.
Yeah. We have an admissions question, which I can field pretty easily, which is just what the SAT score range is for students that are attending Hult. And I will say we are proudly an SAT optional school. So the whole concept behind being a holistic admissions school is that we don't boil people down to a test score. So if you choose, if you've taken the SAT and you feel it strengthens your application, feel free to include that as part of your application. Otherwise, just know that you're being assessed more on your drive, your passion, your commitment to business and what you're going to bring to the Hult community rather than how you performed in a standardized test. So let's see, we have a couple more admissions questions which I can, which I'll field, but let's see if we have some more for our students here. So I don't think anyone's coming from Europe right now, but I think the question was, are there any, well, especially as having you just kind of arrived from in December, were there any problems coming from another country to the US given COVID?
Well, no, I actually took my COVID test before coming here. They didn't ask for it, but I had a printed copy in case they did. And the thing you have to keep in mind is to bring your I-20. Yeah, I-20, you need to print it because they're gonna ask for it when you enter the country.
Sure. But you felt it was relatively easy and wasn't, there weren't any complications that you faced?
No.
That's great. This one we always get, and it's one of our favorites, but sort of what was your personal journey to Hult? What made you choose Hult, or how did you know it was the right fit for you. You're close. You guys are closer to the decision-making process. Not to make you sound old, Jesse, but why don't we start over here and work our way down?
I feel one of the main things that actually led me to choose Hult was that the professors have a background in business. For example, a lot of other universities, professors are professors, so they don't necessarily have, for example, companies, or they are not really entrepreneurs, or they haven't really had an experience in what they teach. But here at Hult, a bunch of my professors are heads of businesses. They work in finance, they've started things, they started initiatives, and they do teaching while they're doing so many other things. So I feel, as Jessica said, those professors can actually help you get internships maybe in their own companies, or they can actually link you to other friends they know, because professors, you're just always like around them, and the classes are pretty small, so there is this one-on-one connection. So if you show the teacher you're willing and ambitious enough to really land an internship or job somewhere, they're more than happy to help you with that. And I feel like being at Hult, this process is the process is very facilitated. It's very easy to speak to the professor. They're very approachable, and the one-on-one connection is what I was really seeking. And I feel like from now on, I've really enjoyed my time. Classes are great. Professors really know what they're talking about. They've had experience. The business, like the aspect of them just knowing what they teach and having experience in it really makes the class more enjoyable.
That's great.
So for me, it was first that it's a business-focused university, and also adding to that the accreditations the university has, but also the diversity in the students and the opportunity to rotate to other campuses and still get the same degree. And the way that professor teaches, Ahmed said, it's a way interactive, and they teach you business by doing it. So they put you to do it and to like practice and like to do real life experiences.
Yeah.
I think, yeah, like a lot of it boils down to how Hult approaches education. So I have a lot of friends that go to schools in Boston, whether that be Ivy League schools, and what they always told me was that it's really academics focused in the sense that you don't get to do a lot in class. So it's a lecturer and you're in a class with 200 students and the professor doesn't even know you. And Hult gives a chance to students to really explore who they are, what they want to do in the business world, and they give them also free time to pursue their own goals and achieve them. And academics is just a way that everything is binded together. And I think it's the way it should be. So for me, also coming to Hult was more of a challenge, because like once you're in high school and you do a lot of things, you like achieve everything you want to, and you're like, so what's next? So for me, it was just expanding my comfort zone and jumping out of it and trying new things and coming to a whole new city.
We hear a lot about sort of that more intimate setting at Hult that students really come to appreciate. But did you feel like that was something you felt even before you made your decision, or is that something you kind of came to realize after you? Or
I think in some sense I did realize that before, even to the point where you have an enrollment advisor even before you're like applying. So they know your name, they know who you are, they know your whole history, and they know your passion, your drive, why you want to be at Hult. And from that point, you understand that you're just like, you guys have said, that we're just not a number like in other institutions where you're just a student ID number and your grades just roll out. And it's really cool to see that from the beginning of your process.
That's great.
Yeah, and for me, I wanted the opposite of a traditional college. I'd gone to a very traditional high school with like a campus and everything being old. And I was like, okay, this is great, but I'm trying to change the world. I need an institution who's also trying to do that. So yeah, that's why I came to Hult, because I feel like we're both growing at the same time.
That's great. So we have a few admissions questions that I just want to field quickly for students. The first we have from Jonathan is whether or not we require a high school transcript for our decisions. And if you do for international students, do you require it to be evaluated? We do require a high school transcript, so we will sort of need to see where you've gone to high school and how you have performed. Right now, you'd be basically submitting your transcripts through your penultimate year and then that first semester that you've completed at this point, just given where we are in the admissions cycle. Harry is joining us, and you're not graduating until the summer of 2022, so you're planning ahead, which is fantastic. But it also means that you still have time to apply. So I would, you can certainly start thinking about it. I think right now is a really great time to really be whittling your list down and thinking about what kinds of things you want to have on your application to present yourself as best as possible. But you really don't need to start applying until that fall of your senior year, when you'll have your transcripts through your penultimate year, which you'll need to apply to schools. We have a question in terms of scholarships, as if you cannot get more than one scholarship. So scholarships and awards can be combined, so you can be awarded academic excellence as well as growth mindset scholarship and potentially an award depending on your full needs. So there is some customization there to combine those scholarships. And then, is there a scholarship specifically available for IB students? So while there's not a scholarship expressly for IB students, I think you're going to find that the Global Generations Scholarship actually speaks really well to usually the profile of IB students. But what I'd encourage you to do is actually just check out a list of our scholarships at hult.edu and see which one sort of feels more aligned with your accomplishments and who you are as a person and as a student. We do not have GPA requirements, as I mentioned a little bit earlier. We have holistic admissions, so we aren't going to say, you'll see this a lot more actually in the UK than you'll see in the US. Even Harvard won't say that they have GPA requirements, because truthfully, every school is looking at the full sort of profile of the student in order to assess for admissions. So my biggest recommendation is to simply kind of put your application together in the best way that you sort of see it as fitting at Hult, and really make sure that sort of you're already here at an open house, you're taking that interest, make sure that that shines through in your application, and I'm sure you're going to do really well. The Academic Excellence Scholarship is 3.6 weighted, so we don't just look at unweighted. Typically, for those that are unfamiliar with weighted versus unweighted, weighted GPAs take into consideration the rigor of the classes that you're taking. So if you're taking advanced placement courses, IB high-level courses, A-level courses, those things are taken into consideration so that you're not sort of penalized for taking really hard classes in high school and then have a lower GPA. So that 3.6 is considered as weighted. We have a question about on-campus jobs. Do any of you do any on-campus jobs here? Yeah, go for it.
So basically, just to let you guys know, like here at Hult, because I don't know if you guys know, but with international students with an F1 visa, we can't work outside of campus. So we have the limitation of working 20 hours a week and only on campus, unless you apply for the optional training extension, which is being able to work like in your field. But from what I know, there's like 4 areas you can work in, which is student services. You can work at Hult House, you can work as a residence life intern, which is what I do. You can work as a tech assistant.
Limitless learning.
And limitless learning. I think those are the 4 we have right now. But basically, being an intern and working on campus is great because they also adapt to your school hours. So they try to fit you in where you can and where you can't work. And it's just amazing. And it's just a great way to support having fun in Boston as well.
Yeah, that's true. That is true. Did you have anything you wanted to add, Jessie?
Well, I work in none of those categories. I actually work at the gym, but it's been really great. And yeah, it's just amazing to see how even an outside facility that's on campus is willing to like take us under their arm.
Yeah,
so it's been great.
It's great. We do have a question about how you will know if you've been admitted. So like I said, kind of a little bit earlier in the presentation through that timeline, you will be notified by your enrollment advisor once an admissions decision has been reached. It will also be available through your online account. So typically it is about 2 weeks from the time that you do that interview and complete that full application. But depending on holidays and things like that, it may be a little bit longer. So best advice would be to connect with your enrollment advisor who can kind of speak to exactly when we'd expect an admissions decision for your specific application. So this is a great question for all of our entrepreneurs. It sounds like someone already has a business idea in mind. And if I do have an idea for a business, does Hult own parts of it? Because I started it while I was studying at Hult and getting help.
So that's also like a good thing about the Hult Founders Lab. We actually talked about it for like 2 sessions.
Yeah.
So basically, Hult won't hold your intellectual property because if you're presented, it's still your idea and you're not bound by contract or anything.
Yeah.
So just there are some times that you just see that people try and take your idea, but what the professors tell us is that you're the only person that knows the true essence and the passion behind your idea.
Yeah.
So focus on that, and a lot of professors just tell you to welcome the competitiveness, because if you have the same idea as someone else, you only want to try and make yours better, and at the end it just works out for the best. But no, Hult doesn't own part of your business if you came up with it in class, or whether that be a Hult Founders Lab.
Yeah, just wanting to add to that, having done research with like other incubators and other accelerators, this is not a given. They usually do take about a 10 or 20% of most venture capitals funding, because it's like, oh, we helped you get this, so you owe us something. But that's a thing that I think we all really appreciate, that Hult is basically like, the professors are just doing it to help us. So no hidden messages or anything.
If you could choose just one, what would you say is the best thing about Hult? Give you a second to think.
I think to summarize it in one word, it would just be, I think, diversity in all the senses, because whether that be in the business world, because everyone works in a different industry, even the professors, you have a lot of different languages you hear, even in the elevators, people talking in Korean or Spanish and French. It's just really diverse, and it's a great way to grow personally and professionally.
Would anyone differ?
I would say, I was gonna say diversity, but I'm probably gonna say something else. Another thing that is very important, I think, is networking. For me, networking is essential in a school. And because, as I stated earlier, because our classes do not hold 100, 200, 300 students, we have the possibility to really connect with people one-on-one. Teachers will remember you, staff will remember you, faculty will remember you. You will meet tons of students that you will remember their names. And because of that, you can potentially meet the people who can help you advance further in your career.
Yeah.
So networking for me is definitely important.
That's great.
So for me, besides diversity and networking, I think that this position the school has shown to us since the beginning, as well as being like a more personalized type of program to students, and that everyone's like, it's there for you to help you or to advise you, or like you have everyone with you like in your disposition as well.
Yeah, and to conclude, if you're done, yeah, okay. For me, it would actually be adaptability. It might not sound as fancy as the other ones, but I think being able to look at it as a senior's point of view, like each year has had like a specific thing that I wanted to focus on. The first 2 were a lot more like academic centric and figuring out my major and all those things around that. And now in my senior year, going into my master's, I'm actually focusing a bit more on my on my startup and on those ventures, and Hult's able to like adapt with me. So I took like way more classes my first 2 years, and now I'm able to take just 4 and focus my efforts on other things. So yeah, it's like, it's a dance of things that work well.
It's a nice array that we have here. Have any of you, so someone's done their research and they know a bit about the Hult Prize. Have any of you, well, I mean, you're in your first year, so you wouldn't have participated quite yet, but have any of you, oh, you have?
I have, yeah.
Great.
It's an interesting experience just because, at least for me and my team, it was pretty daunting being us the only team that actually participated, even an undergraduate. So we were freshmen, undergraduate, the only undergraduate team that participated, at least in the on-campus competition. And it was pretty scary, you know, but for us, it was a great learning experience. Just to know what to prepare for competitions such as the Hult Prize. So having the financials ready, which was our downfall, unfortunately. You just really have to prepare, do your research, but also the Hult does a great job of mentoring you to be prepared, as well prepared as you can. So they give you if you want to, you can ask for a peer mentor. So which is a student that has already participated, can coach your team and tell you guys what you have to do, just to position yourselves the best way you can. But it's a really fun experience, and I recommend it a lot, especially if you're looking to have that entrepreneurial side with social impact. It's a great way to get that going and get your mind working on some idea that you wanted to propose.
Do you think you'll do it again?
Probably yes.
Right. So not too
So I can
scary.
go to the final.
That's right. That's right. Now I know you mentioned Hult House already, so we do have a couple of questions. Just because obviously people are going to be coming to Boston for the first time, they're nervous about where to live. Can you speak to what the accommodation is like and what life is like living in the dorms?
In one word, I can say it's amazing. If you talk to I'm pretty sure you got a lot of you guys have friends here in Boston, just because returning to the fact that you say that people don't know exactly how many students there are here in Boston. I've actually looked it up. It's about 25% of the population here in Boston is just students. So it's absolutely insane. But what a lot of my friends say is that their dorms are not good. They have shared bathrooms and it's just a mess. And here at Hult House, it just feels more like a hotel.
Yeah.
And it's pretty amazing. Community kitchen. Everyone has their own bathrooms in their rooms. And we have a gym downstairs. We have a lot of common areas. It's just really amazing.
And so also something to add to that, I live in Hult House too, so it's been an amazing experience. But also the location is amazing. Literally downtown is a 20-minute walk, and if you take an Uber, it'll be even less. But literally everything everywhere is pretty close. If you want to go to downtown, spend a day there, go to famous restaurants here, go to some amazing neighborhoods near Boston. Everything is quite close. So you literally go down to Boston or go down to downtown and just have a day there, and you literally just come back and everything's just so close to you. There's also Star Market is very near, Whole Foods is very close, Haymarket is close. Everything is, all the essentials are around you, so you really don't need a car, need any sort of transportation to really go there.
Yeah.
And also, I think the subway station is very close to here, so if you want to even explore Boston even more, I took it multiple times. For me, the experience was pretty safe. So the location is also pretty amazing.
Yeah, I think that's one of the things you don't realize until you come to Boston is just how small the city itself is and how walkable and how easy it is to get to places. Getting back a little bit to that whole idea of students trying to visualize what their week looks like, one of the questions we have here is, what's the balance at Hult between traditional tests versus projects, assignments, and presentations?
I think it's more project oriented.
Yeah.
Just they really take that seriously, and it's just a lot of it is projects, so you can apply what the professors have taught you. And of course, there's some courses you can't really do a project to prove that you learned something. So you have, at least for me last semester, I only had one final exam, which was for finance. And even that was just solving problems using Excel. So it's not really like A, B, C, D, multiple choice exams. So it's great.
Yeah, I think the reason we all laughed is because we know Hult is all about group projects and group work. And so you have one for sure in every class, if not two or three. So that's a given. And when I was like, why are we doing so much group work? I went and investigated, and it was because Hult had done research, and they were asking employers what they didn't see enough of from graduates. And they were like, people don't know how to do teamwork and how to work in teams from diverse groups and cultures. So what you're going to see is that your team is selected on random, but also random nationalities. And that's why Hult is really emphasizing teamwork and how to work with people. And some groups are going to be harder than others, but that's going to help you in the long run. For once you're in a job with maybe not a great team, you're going to be able to have known and worked with this over 40 or 80 times through all your classes.
So true. As a graduate of a very traditional liberal arts college, I think it's something that a lot of schools miss out on. And it's certainly something that I never really had exposure to in my own studies. And it's why I feel so passionate about what we do here at Hult, because I really struggled with it when I entered the business world, because it is so critical. And you do see that friction when you're studying, but it is so important to set you up for success after you graduate. Do any of you participate in the HSA, the Student Association?
Yeah, I was there my first year.
Okay, great. The question we had was whether or not you could participate in the HSA in your freshman year, and the answer is yes, it is open to all students. Does anyone here, we have someone who's passionate about track. Is anyone running track?
We have a running club.
We have a running club.
And a hiking club.
Yeah.
Hiking club.
But obviously you can start one if you, I know a lot of people here are, at least I'm like a disgruntled athlete. I never was able to achieve my dreams, and business was like, was like my secondary, but a lot of people here played either semi-professional football, or at least I played baseball for league baseball for a lot of time. And then with injuries and stuff, I just couldn't continue. But there's many tracks nearby. Most colleges, big colleges that have D1 sports have tracks open to anyone. So you can just walk and basically run track there. So if you open a club, the most likely thing is that you could be able to use one of those.
Yeah.
I think there's a high school nearby near Bunker Hill, and their track is open to anyone.
That's great.
Boston is a big running city.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You'll see every day, any time of the day, someone is running.
Yeah, and we even one of our professors is the one who started the running club. So yeah, it's funny because he'll come in at 7 a.m. and like go run with a bunch of people and then just change and teach class.
Yeah.
So it's really
He opened
fun.
that opportunity for students too. So if students want to join
Yeah.
the running session at 7 a.m., they're more than welcome to do so.
Well, it is, especially for someone who's used to running track where you kind of run around in a circle. Hult is literally just across the street from a beautiful run along the river. So you really, I mean, unless you kind of want that discipline of a track, it's so much more enjoyable to, to go along the river and run along the Charles and the Esplanade. We do have a question that came up a couple of times, which is visa support. And that was, what type of support does Hult offer international students that want to study and work at the same time? What type of CPT opportunities? So I think what we were describing earlier is actually the CPT opportunity. So as an F1 student, while you aren't legally able to work off of campus, we do offer those opportunities here on campus. Just keep in mind that it is limited to 20 hours per week, which doesn't sound like a lot, but actually when you're a full-time student, 20 hours a week is a lot.
You probably won't hit it.
You probably will get up to like 10 or 12, and that will feel like a lot with the balance that you're doing with your studies and with everything else. And so I know we still have tons of questions here, so I'm just gonna try to cherry pick. So I apologize because we're running low on time, and we're probably not gonna be able to answer all 26 of these questions here, and I know we've answered quite a few of them already. But let's just see. We have a student here who, I mean, we saw that earlier on, that's struggling with whether or not what they want to specialize in. So the question was, how does Hult help you identify what you want to specialize in? And maybe Jesse, we'll start with you because you are further along and you kind of have a very concrete idea now.
Of course. Well, I'm not sure if you guys know this, but no, they know for sure. So the first year and the second semester, you're actually not allowed to choose any of your classes. So they're actually given to you, meaning you need to take the principles of all the 5 areas that you guys saw. So principles of finance, principles of everything. And that gives you a little taste of everything that you might be interested in. So through that, you're able to discover it. And I'm sure you guys can talk about it way more as you've done it more recently, but you may see like accounting, not for me, or entrepreneurship, actually, I'm really interested in that. And that way you're able to dive a bit deeper. And then you always have your electives where you can dive more into one area than the other. But yeah, for me, it was more what technical aspect can I not teach myself? Like we're doing entrepreneurship in Hult Founders Lab. So I was like, okay, I know I want to be an entrepreneur, but what can Hult specifically give me? So I was like, I will do finance, which is what I find the hardest, ironically, and then do business analytics where I know nothing of, but I think it will be really helpful. So that's my way of thinking, not normal, but I love it.
And also adding to what Jess said, I think at least this year, going back to the point that Hult is a pretty small school, the community is really important. So even like the directives listen to what the students want. So a friend of mine this semester, he decided that he wanted design courses. So whether that be fashion or some like material design. So he created basically a survey asking if students wanted it, and he got the signatures the school required to basically look for a professor that could give that course. And basically you can do pretty much anything here at Hult, which is amazing. So now we have fashion design courses here in Boston, and also I think some material design courses as well.
Oh, nice.
So that's also a different way you can, if you know you want to try something out, you can try and talk to the school and try and see if they can put in a course for those people interested in that area as well.
Also, you can receive help from your career development and manager, program manager, advisor.
All right, we have time for one final question before we wrap up. And I think one of the, again, just I think so many high school seniors worry about what the transition is like, not just from high school to college, but also moving so far away from home. So how was the transition for you guys when you arrived? How easy was it to adapt to life at Hult?
Who wants to start? I guess I can take this question. Well, I come from Morocco, so Morocco is pretty different compared to the United States. But as a lot of my friends referred to, it's very international. Some people think that when you're going to come to college or come to Hult, you're not going to see people who have similar values, similar cultures. Things might seem different. But actually, I left home, but I found another home at Hult House because I've met a lot of people from North Africa, a lot of people from the Arab world, from the African world. I speak 3 languages. I speak French, Arabic, and English. So I've met a lot of people who speak those 3 languages. So it wasn't really difficult to transition. It was quite simple. And the international aspect of Hult made it much easier for me.
And also that's everyone's going through the same thing.
Mm-hmm. That too.
It's definitely hard, especially if you haven't been away from your family. Fortunately, I've had the experience of living abroad a lot, but it was my first time just leaving my family and completely moving by myself. So it's also important to note that Hult has counselors. So always, if you're feeling overwhelmed, just go to them. It's always good to have someone to talk to, so just don't keep it in. Try and keep moving, explore new things, find your comfort zone as much as you can. And once you find that, just try and explore different things. And I think you'll be perfectly fine.
Yeah, I mean, I think you guys covered everything. The last thing I want to say as like a senior, but I'll still be here, is that as we've all gone through it, we're happy, like we know what you're going through. So even not just your freshman class, but your upperclassmen will also like take you under their wing. So yeah, that's one of my favorite things. It's like such a family. Yeah.
That's a perfect way to end. Thank you, Jessie. So I know we didn't get to all the questions, so I sincerely apologize. But I do hope that we gave you sort of a teaser of what life is like here and held a little bit of a preview. And please join us for more events. We host student panels all the time, master classes to experienced professors and sample classes. And then we have all these open houses that we host all the time. So if there are specific questions we didn't get to, please connect with your enrollment advisor and they'll be happy to talk you through those answers. But for now, I would just like to again thank all of our staff, our students, and all of you for joining us here today, this Saturday. I hope you enjoyed your time. Thanks.